Hey everyone, welcome to episode 20 of the Dari Hammer podcast. Today I'm really excited to share my conversation with a very special guest. My guest is the embodiment of hard work, resilience, and relentlessness. He is the very proof that in this world, having those traits, you'll always win, no matter what. That winning means enjoying the process without caring about other people's opinion. That no matter how your odds are from the day you were born, whether it is like in his case with a physical disability that required over 13 surgeries, or with an extreme humble means, you can always live your dreams. Yes, this is a real life story and not a cliche or fairy tale. His name is David Drock, and he's currently the executive creative director of Vayner Media, which is arguably one of the most successful contemporary media and branding companies, whose CEO and chairman is none other than Mr. Gary Vaynerchuk. In this very up-close and personal interview, David, to many known as Drock, shares his inside story of what it took him to land a job with Gary Vee, and after having worked as a freelance videographer to now being his right hand as a director of creative at Vayner Media. But this is not where it stops for him. As he tells us himself, he's a dreamer at heart. Currently, he has his hands in much bigger projects and claims that at age 31, his work has not even begun yet. So listen in, and for those of you who are in the creative department and want to learn about best practices in social media and branding, make sure you listen to the very end. Hey, what's up, man?
I'm well.
I'm grateful for you taking the time. I know you're super busy. Knowing your boss, I'm still baffled how you found the time so selflessly to really not just talk to me, but also help my mission. And this is a special day for me, in particular. Why you don't remember? I met you back in 2018. You guys were here in DMV and DC area.
Yeah.
I went to Tony Robbins' seminar, and Gary was speaking there. That's where I met him for the first time. And I kept seeing this guy that was like, well, on his iPhone, like taking videos and pictures. And Gary was referring to that person as D-Rock. And I didn't think of it much. I just remembered it subconsciously because it was an interesting name. Didn't know that it's short for David. So then that day I became really, it's a light bulb went off, and I saw how this, Gary beautifully showed how this world actually functions. So I became very curious. I became very inspired, and then started consuming a lot of his content. I just was, everything he spoke about, it was like speaking to me. And I not only changed my life, but it changed a lot of other people's lives around me, because from that day, I was on a mission to share that type of viewpoint and that type of lifestyle. And so your name kept coming up, and I was really admiring the videography, the filmography, the photography. And that's how I learned what I'm doing now for myself. And, I wanted to know who is the person behind it. And so I didn't find anything. It's almost like you're a ghost online. And when I researched you on social media, everything made sense. It kind of started clicking. Like I understood why you're working for the person you're working, and why the person that hired you, why he hired you, and everything made total sense. And I just wanted to, my podcast is about storytelling. I try to inspire people through storytelling. I know you chuckled there because I know why, and we're going to talk about that. I think there's nothing more beautiful than transferring a message through storytelling as opposed to telling. There's a difference between storytelling and telling. It's just so much more impactful. it resounds just more with people. And all my life I was storytelling. I just didn't know that I'm doing it. I just had a good way of touching people's hearts. I had a good way of being able to communicate with people, and I didn't know what it was until I realized that it's a storytelling. And just like you, I had passion in photography. I actually majored in arts and photography, so that's my right brain that always was active. And so I have an admiration and respect for the work that you do, and everybody in the industry, every creative in the industry. So that's how I wanted to just see who's behind that person. And when I found out about you, and I found out about the fact that you had, I don't know how many surgeries you had, and I immediately, it came to me, it's like, man, I'm treating all these children and these parents that come to me with tears in their eyes, devastated. And then I saw you and what you stand for, the success you're having, not just success, but just happiness. And most importantly, how grateful you are of everything you have, even though being born with a chip on your shoulder, with a disadvantage, which I really want to debunk in this conversation, because I think it will bring huge value to so many families that I constantly try to give confidence and try to just tell them that everything will be all right, not to worry. It's almost this panic and anxiety in them doesn't let them hear me, that I thought it's a great thing if I tell someone else's story or let someone else tell their story. Because the principle I live by is like, if you know one person that's done something, that means it's possible, period. And I preach that, and so many people have this angst, this fear that, what if I can't do it? And so I think the secret to that is just repetition. Just keep telling the stories over and over again. So I'm very grateful for that. And thank you for coming on. But
That was an amazing intro, and I appreciate it. I like
it's
your tone and tenor a lot. It means
it's
a lot.
and thank you for that. But I don't think it can be really put into words how grateful I am, just because uh, this will change many people's lives, for many years to come. It's not just like one conversation we're going to have. It's just something that I believe I can use as a blueprint for, mostly for the parents, because the children, they don't know what's going on. They really don't know. And as you know, I have a foundation that I created with a friend of mine in 2014. He basically called me, my friend Andres Herrera. He's in Northern California. He was my chief resident back then. We were in Chicago. And one day out of the blue, he calls me. I see his name on my phone, and we hadn't talked in 13 years. And I thought he butt dialed me. So I was hesitant to pick up the phone. But I happened to be at my lunch break, and I always thought he really doesn't like me because he was very hard on me. He was my chief resident. So in medicine, if you've watched Grey's Anatomy, it's almost like a military hierarchy. The lowest on the totem pole is like treated like shit, but it's for a reason, is to train, as part of the training. Not that I agree with that style of training. I believe
But
more in
yeah, but sometimes it's like just how it is, right?
I know. So anyways, long story short, because I want you to do the talking. So I picked up the phone. That was the beginning of our foundation. That's the day we started our foundation.
Wow, that's
Because
awesome.
when he told me about a mission and I asked him what is the name of the foundation, he says, well, here's the thing. I said, what? He goes, I thought maybe we can start one together. And so quickly, I remembered why I got into this profession. I remember I was a student in my second year. I was listening to this lecture in facial surgery, and the professor shows up a slide with a 10-day-old with a huge cleft lip. And I remember I was so shocked. I'd never seen anything like that. The first thing to my mind was like, how could be God so cruel to bring a child to this world like this, an innocent child? I couldn't fathom, like, I couldn't understand it. It didn't make sense to me. And while I was confused, he shows me the after picture, and beautiful baby, and I still remember the baby's face. And I was
Okay.
like, wow, I thought I saw Jesus. So I looked at him, and that day I knew that's what I want to do. And
Wow, that's really powerful to hear.
that was it for me. That was it. I always wanted to become an eye doctor, and that day my path changed. I said, if he can do this, I want to learn how to do this. And after 15 years of training, 13 years into practice, I get this butt dial, which wasn't a butt dial, which was a call from the universe.
Mm.
And now I'm sitting here with you. And for me, to share your story with my audience is huge, because I finally learned about your story, and I think it's super inspiring. And I also know you're writing a book right now, and we're going to talk about that too. I'm really excited to hear about that. But I really want to introduce um, David Drock, and who is a creative director, executive creative director for Gary Vaynerchuk, who is arguably the biggest influencer in media, social media. My kids knew Gary before I knew him, actually, and
That makes me really happy.
I have a 15-year-old, I have a 12-year-old, and I have a 2-year-old, and it's incredible the influence that you have, and for people to get to know who is the artist behind the creative, and pretty much his right hand is coming from the background you're coming from. I really want you to share the story. So
A lot.
tell me, D-Rock, how does it feel today for you to know that the impact you're making into this world with the team that you have, and how do you feel today? And have you ever dreamt of this opportunity ever? Did you ever visualize it? Is it something that you always wanted? Was it your north, or this is it something you grew into it? You found this opportunity, and now you're not turning back and running with it.
Great question. It's funny. I have always wanted to help people. I think, I smirked a little bit earlier when you said telling stories. At the age of like 10, 11, 12, I was like writing and drawing and inventing characters and like wanting to make the next Harry Potter, and like I always had this imagination that I could like create worlds. And so what I realized was I wasn't a writer and I wasn't an artist per se during that time, but I did have the ability to, when I picked up a camera, I was like, wait a minute, this is intuitively very natural to me and I love it. And then once I found out about editing, that's when like the whole thing like flipped on its head. I was like, wait a minute, I really love this. And so from the age of 14 on, I just fell in love with storytelling via the camera and cinema and movies and film. And so I always knew that I wanted to become a film director and like direct really big movies. Like I want to like make like the next
Mm-hmm.
again Harry Potter or Pixar films, Jason Bourne, Ultimatum, like all those things are things I want to work on. But I started working on a lot of sets when I first came to New York, and I didn't really like people's temperament in the production field. Like everyone was so grumpy. There was a process. You had to hold wire, get coffee, and like eventually over time you build your like way up to get to become a director. And then by that
Mm-hmm.
time you're already worn down by the system that you're grumpy. And I was like, that's not what I want. I want to like build awareness and tell awesome stories now. And so I was like, fuck, I'm gonna go back to being a freelancer. So over time I watched one video when I was homeschooled, and because of all the surgeries and because of all the doctor
All the way
appointments,
to college, or
all the way to college, I was
wow.
homeschooled. So, because of like again, I had to get a lot of doctor appointments. I grew up in the
Mm-hmm.
Poconos in Pennsylvania. We would go to the children's clinic out in Philadelphia, which is a 2.5 hour drive almost every week. And so that would have been impossible and hard for me to be in the public education system. And so my parents did a very good job of like maintaining that and like really like they did a really good job, honestly. Like from my mom not even graduating high school or college, or my dad, to then them like educating me and making sure I did have resources and like learned above their like knowledge. They always they always supported me, but also like being homeschooled, I was able to spend a lot of time on what do I want to do? What are my interests? And so I really got to dive into that. So when I was homeschooled, I would go on YouTube all the time and like watch videos, learn how to edit. That's kind of like where I started to learn. And then I found one video that someone made of Will Smith. It was a mashup video. Uh, and it was like the 9 secrets of success
Mm.
by Will Smith. And that video I watched almost every single day,
Wow.
probably up until I got to college. All just off like background noise and background, like I just needed that like message, and I believed in it, like work ethic, hard work, persistence, and so that I would say is like one of the things that like if I can make one video
Mm.
to change someone's life like that, I can die a happy man. And I can gladly and proudly say, if I get hit by a car tomorrow, I've done what I came on this earth to do. And so I'm really proud of that.
It's interesting to hear that because everyone I talk to, and one of the reasons why I started this podcast is to I meet very interesting people because of my profession, and I'm fascinated with people that reach success, not just monetary, but as far as happiness and fulfillment, which is totally different. And with every person, there is a turning point in their life. There was one spark that inspired them, and it made them, it's like they were on a mission and they didn't look back. And not only that, they tripled down on it. And on top of it, they were so enthused that they want to share it with the world, because it's like when you hear good news or when you're happy, it's like you want to share it with everyone. And that's the effect it has. That's the definition of inspiration. And so tell me then, you said, you obviously went through a very tough childhood, and your childhood is very similar to the childhood of many families that I deal with on a daily basis. And I could tell you, and I'll tell everyone, I never had a tough childhood. My childhood, I was blessed, but I was always, from when I was very little, I was very empathetic towards people that were somehow had a disadvantage. Like when I was a kid beaten up on the playground, I would always go and like help him up and try to make him feel good. And so that was just in my DNA. But tell me that when you grew up, not just living with very um, humble means, but having a disability that where you couldn't like play like other children outside, where you constantly were busy, had to go back and forth to the hospital. How did that affect you growing up? Was it for you like a normal thing, or was it something that you like
Well,
really
it's
it bothered
everything.
you?
I mean, it bothered me, but it's all I knew, right? Like
That's
you don't not know that, you know.
mhm.
And I think there's something to that. Like you just don't know what you don't know. And to me, that's all I knew, right?
The reason why I'm asking the question is because I can't put myself in other people's lives or other people's shoe. I'm not that
Yeah, that makes sense.
delusional to do that.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm asking you the question is because when I started going to these mission trips, when I saw these families, these children, there was the sadness in the parents' eyes, but there was this happiness and joy in the children's eyes. They just love life, and it's almost like I'm thinking, do they even know the life that they have ahead? Do they know how many surgeries they have to go through? How do they find the courage, the stamina? Mhm.
Yeah, honestly, I would say anytime I've ever ran into a cleft lip person or whatever, it's never been like, oh, like that's awesome. It's always been like, there's another one of us, and like we kind of like cower away. Um, so I'll say no, but I also don't think that that's nowadays, meaning like I think a lot more parents have a lot more resources, and there's a lot more organizations around the world working on this. Meanwhile, like my parents didn't have the internet when they were like trying to figure all this stuff out, right? And so there was just no education at that point. And I think now there's a lot more education. You can find a lot of different resources.
But I'm
Um,
talking where we're going to the poorest places in the country. I mean,
hmm.
to the point that I'll shoot you a picture of the school that they're going to. It's
Hmm.
basically a shack without a ceiling, and is like one teacher for like 20
Yeah.
kids of all grades. They don't have shoes. They wear the same clothes every day. Like we also bring our philanthropic efforts to bring them clothing. We're actually planning to like somehow um, raise enough money to build them a school, not like a
Yeah, yeah,
lavish
yeah.
school,
I know you're
just
like,
like something with walls and roof and just a desk to sit
yeah,
without the.
what country are you talking about?
It's
Uh,
Colombia. It's
in Colombia?
Colombia.
Yeah, I mean,
Colombia,
listen, Gary
Ecuador.
sits on the board of like Pencils and Promise, so we've been to Africa and I've
Mhm.
seen it. I've seen like the children have nothing. They have one soccer
Yeah.
ball, but they're smiling, they're happy, and they're glowing. They don't think about the things they don't have. And I think back to your previous point, I just don't think that people who might be in our situation think about life. I mean, obviously, you wish like you weren't being made fun of, and you wish that your voice was normal, or you didn't have the gap in the hole in your mouth. You obviously wish those things, but I think there's so many other like worse things. Meaning, I could not have
Worse.
legs, and I can not walk, or I could not hear, or I could not see. There's blind people, and there's deaf people, and all that. So I think, uh, yeah, I think there's always worse, and I think as long as you have good perspective. And I think,
Yeah.
sorry, parenting, I think parenting a kid that does have some sort of medical condition, all you need to tell them is like, everything's going to be okay. And you're there to support them no matter what. As long as like the parents are there to support them, then
Hmm.
I think your child will be fine, you know? I really do.
100%. Yeah, I think the parents are the real heroes in this, because they
Yeah,
have the toughest job.
of course.
They had children with a dream, and now they're struggling to understand. And a lot of times they, at least in parts of the world that we go, they blame each other, and to the point that usually the breadwinner leaves, and then usually
Wow.
is, yeah, the mother is left with three children, and two of them have I it's devastating. And
Yeah,
so I think the parents are the real victims, because like you said, as a child you don't know anything else, and
yeah,
you just want to go out and play with the others.
of course.
So appreciate that insight. I know it's a very personal thing. I wasn't sure whether it's you'd feel just comfortable so openly and graciously share that and talk to me about it. And so I appreciate that, because it helps me also give them more perspective.
Yeah, and honestly, like feel free to dive wherever you want. I'm pretty happy with where I am and proud of who I've become. So
Yeah, this is huge. I'm getting goosebumps right now, because that's the message that I try to get across with these families. Not to worry. Every day I say, "Don't worry, everything will be fine." I feel
mhm.
like stupid saying that at this point, but it's just nothing. There's no other secret, and so
No, there's no other.
thank
Life is pretty
thank
basic.
thank you for that. So let's switch gears. I have a lot of questions that I want to ask you. So quickly tell us a story. I know you probably told the story 100 million times. How did you get your job that you have today? And before you answer that question, um, I don't know if Gary will listen to it or not. Is this your dream job, or what is your dream job? Are you living a dream right now? Of course, we keep growing. You can't know whether you live your dream job now. As you grow, as you continue, your wants and needs will change, because you gain different perspective, and you grow as a human. But is this your dream job in a sense where you see your long-term future, like this is it for me? This is what I always wanted. And then how did you get your dream job? And
I
you're
have
actually writing a book about it, right?
right. Well, yeah, I have three answers for you.
All right.
Uh, Let me start with first how I got my job, and then we'll go into
All
is
right.
it the dream job or not. About 8 years ago, I was doing a podcast. Oh, wait, let me rewind a bunch more. I'm freelancing in New York City. Uh, I'm ghetto. I have no money to my name, and so I'm carrying all my camera gear, my lighting, my tripod, my camera through the subways of New York City, look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And I'm walking outside to do this job, and it's pouring rain. And So I'm like, fuck. Like I'm already upset that I gotta lug everything to the job, and now I get to the job and it's pouring rain. Anyways, I do the job half day, like 5 hours, but it's the most money I've ever made in 5 hours before, and it's still pouring rain. And I'm like, fuck it. Like I'm gonna just take a cab. I've never taken a cab, maybe once with my ex's like aunt when she visited us, or once with like my uncle when I visited him in New York City, like
Do you
Brooklyn.
know
Like
why you take a cab? I'm just curious.
what?
Do you know why you took a cab? Like, if you think back.
Well, it was pouring rain, and I was like, I don't want to
Uh,
like lug my, I'm tired, like just like fed up, right? I was like,
yeah.
no, this is not happening. So I hail a cab, like I was like, okay, like in the movies, right? You hold your hand
Yeah.
up,
Yep.
cab pulls up, I put all my equipment in, I'm like, phew, finally. So I lived in Queens at the time, the job
Uh,
was in Midtown Manhattan. So I'm riding this car over the bridge. I'm driving over the Queensboro Bridge, and I pull up Twitter. And I just like been like really engaging in Twitter lately. My buddy and I have been doing a podcast, and we're like trying to get into social media more. And
interesting.
we had interviewed probably like 25 marketers and CEOs at this point. And I've been following. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. One more part of the story. My buddy and I had watched this guy, Gary Vee, speak at a conference that was free at Columbia University, probably 3 weeks prior to this time of me telling this story.
Yep.
So I fell in love with him. Like, yo, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I sent him an email like, yo, your work is awesome. This is like, I
Yeah.
love your message. And so then I sent him a message, no response,
Yeah.
no email back, nothing. I'm like, damn. And so then now we're fast forwarding back to the story. I'm driving over the Queensboro Bridge and I'm on Twitter and Gary tweets out, hey, I'm trying this app called Kick out. Kick is like a chatting app for teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
Now everybody's like hooking up and having like sexting on it. And so like now I always tell people like, yo, Gary and I hooked up on Kick. But I basically said I downloaded the app right away, made a username, and said, "Hey, I want to do a free video for you. I emailed you a few times. This is a 1 minute video I've made before. What do you think?" And like within seconds, he responded to that message on Kick. Now, why it's important that I took a cab is because in New York City subways, there's no service. Now, I mean, 8 years ago it was horrible. Now it's a lot better. You have a little bit more pockets of like windows where you have more service to like do stuff.
That's
If I
insane.
did not take that cab ride
You don't
that
have so.
day
Yeah, you
and
missed that
downloaded that
tweet.
app and missed that tweet and missed that opportunity, because it's really wild, like hard work and serendipity play a whole like
Yeah.
they play a whole lot in my life. And I think in a lot of people's lives. Like I was working hard up until that point. I was like really putting in all the good karma points. I did a ton of shit for free. I was doing all this stuff. I reached out with the best intent. I wanted to make him a free video so I could use that to leverage to get more clients,
So
right?
so interesting. So, but I would imagine thousands of people sent him free stuff just to show their
Yeah.
work.
No, I know, but that's the point. Is like yes, literally thousands of people do. It's moments of time.
Mm,
It's not my emails that I sent him where he might have seen them like, no, I'm not interested. He happened to be maybe thinking about video production that day. And
mm,
like, wait a minute, this kid keeps reaching out. And like, yes, I need a new creator. Like he told me like, hey, I was thinking about bringing my personal brand back a little bit more because I had been focusing on Vayner at that point. And then that happened to be that time window where he was thinking about it. So it's just like all these different things. Like, yeah, it's funny. I have so many people in my DMs right now that are like, "Hey, I want to work for you," or "Hey, I want to do this." Hey, and
so
right
how do you pick and
now,
how do you pick and
right,
choose?
right now in this moment of day and time, I'm not going to respond. But there might be a night where I've had like three
Mm,
glasses of wine and I'm sitting on my couch and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me go back and look at all these messages and just randomly reply. It's all serendipity. It's all moments of time. It's all
it's
these things.
crazy.
So that, so that I make the video. I follow him around for a day, not knowing who he really is. He's not wearing a mic. The footage is terrible. I'm like hating myself. I'm like, this is the worst thing. I don't know what I'm making with this. This is horrible. And so then one night I was like watching through all the footage again, and how Gary writes his articles is he records audio into a phone that his writer uses to like interview him with. I was able to use that audio to use it in the background of my story. That article happened to be called Clouds and Dirt. And so my short film is all about
I watched
dreaming
it.
big, yeah,
I
dreaming
watched it.
big
Yeah.
and living in the clouds and then like working hard and putting your effort. It was just me. It was like the essence of me anyways. Like he's written so many articles that might not have been me. It just all worked out perfectly. So I made the film, I sent it to him. He does like he promotes it heavily. Because he had nothing like it. He had keynotes and like wine videos.
I
He never
know.
had like
Yeah.
motivational like film
Hmm.
around him. And so he was pumped. I copied and pasted everybody's like link that he tweeted it out to individually. Like Josh Rogan, there's so many like entrepreneurs and business people. And I was like, wait a minute. I emailed and DM'd each of them. Like, guys, I made this video. I would love for you to like hire me. Da, 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 da. I got like 3 jobs off of it. I was pumped. I was like setting up all these like meetings and everything. And a month later, I sent that thank you email that you saw on my
Yes.
profile. And
Hmm.
I said, thank you, Gary, for the opportunity. If there's anything I can do to help you, let me know. And
Yes.
he
And then it
said,
says,
so what do you want to do? Do
"What
you
do you
want to come
want to do?"
work for
Yeah.
me? And so when you ask me about my dream job, I will say, no, this was not my dream job. I never wanted to work for anybody. I was going to be a
Mm.
filmmaker, do my own thing, grind, figure out how to tell my own stories. If Instagram and TikTok were around then, like they are now, I would have been like just dominating like social media, telling stories like Human of New York or like like these guys on TikTok. There's so many like different accounts that like just run up to people in the street. Like I love that stuff. So I probably would have been doing that. But because I was like A, considering going to business school again, and B, my girlfriend and aunt were kind of like, you're not making any money, you gotta like go make money. I was like,
Yeah.
fuck it, I'm gonna take the job. And so I took the job, and probably this is where like my answer changes. Probably 4 years into working with Gary, I'm in this room. Gary's sitting here, and this guy Charlie Ebersol is sitting over here, and then I'm sitting here filming. And he's like, "Hey," like Charlie was like going to Gary, like, "Hey, I really want to like build Walt Disney." And Gary kind of looked at me and he looked at him. He's like, I kind of want to build Walt Disney. And I looked at Gary. I was like, I didn't say it, but in my head, I said, I want to build Walt Disney. And so as a kid, I've always, again, had these characters and worlds
Yeah.
and stories in my head. And like, honestly, like to be 100 like percent vulnerable here, I think watching films and movies and stuff really helped me escape a lot of the mental things
Mm.
that
Of
probably were
course.
going on with me. And so
Hmm.
like, I love this world so much of like creating IP. And so when I heard Gary say that, then it became my dream job
Hmm.
because then I would realize, wait a minute, I
Right
don't need to
up my
do Walt.
alley.
I can go
Yeah.
join someone who's going to build Walt Disney. Um, and
No.
now
Yeah. You
we
don't
have
have to
all
do it alone.
all these characters or V
I
friends
know.
that are coming to life, and
I
I
have
just
a VFriend
love it.
box. Yeah, I have that, and
I love it.
I love it. I even have an NFT. I
I
have
love it.
so I just love everything it stands for because it's not just a character. It's a meaning embedded into the character, and
Well,
there's
that's the other thing too. There's so many like fun similarities there. Like my mom and like I grew up very religious. That's just the
Mhm.
backbone of my family, Christian. But then at some point at 13, my parents were like, "Hey, we want to become Jewish." So then I had a whole bar mitzvah and everything. I'm not 1 ounce Jewish, but
Mhm.
they call it Messianic Judaism. And so I wanted to come up with a card game because I never got Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh and they were the devils.
Yeah, yeah.
And so my mom and dad were like, you got to make like positive games.
Mhm.
And so I made this card game and all these characters that had like kindness and
Oh,
hard work and
nice.
like all like courage. And those were the
When was
things that
that?
had
How old were you?
probably like 12 when I was like at Ronald McDonald's house in Philadelphia
Wow.
recovering from surgeries.
Oh
And
my
so
God.
I was doing that. And then I
Dude, that's
also had
awesome.
posters around my room with a lion that said courage and like
Mm.
an elephant that had a different meaning behind it, a giraffe. And so it's funny how the world works and
Yeah.
how, you
You can't.
know, I really believe that you attract what you put out. And I think that if you look at the team that we built with Gary, is just you find the right people and the right people find each other and energies find each other. I really believe in that.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
not my dream job when I started, became my dream job. I can see it long term being a long term thing if I can still play in the gray and do some other random projects. I'm very like sporadic, which is
Mm.
why I also love Gary
Well,
because
because you're
he is
creative.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is too though. So like
Yeah.
I think he understands me, you
Mm.
know? So yes, if I'm here to help build the next Walt Disney, I'm here to do it because
Wow.
that's what I've always wanted to do. But then also like I want to put out sneakers and I want to put out clothing of my own and like NFTs of my own down the road at some point further down the road.
Well, aren't you that's dude, I didn't know all of that. This is amazing. I'm so glad Jesus, I asked that question. Uh, so, but you are doing some of that already. I mean, yes, we talked about you're writing a book, how to get a dream job, and it's funny how you can use your experience, but then you're still growing. But also, you do some fashion designing. I saw on your Instagram page that you consider yourself a fashion designer. So tell me a little bit how that came about. Of course, it came out of your creativity, but how people don't just wake up and say I want to be a fashion designer. I mean,
Right.
what's your relationship with that?
Yeah, so I would say this. In the beginning of like me building Gary's brand, I learned how to be on social media a lot more because obviously when you're filming and editing Gary Vaynerchuk and you're saying, "Hey, you should post every day," at some point you're like, "Fuck, I should post every day."
Tell him I'm doing 20 pieces of material every day. Tell him that.
Wow, I'm pumped. I'm proud of you. That's
and
amazing.
and and I'm telling all my colleagues I'm actually helping them to get there just because they're struggling. So I want to make sure that you know that. Go
I'm
ahead.
pumped. I'm very excited for
And
you.
it's changed my life. But
I
I'm not
know.
here to talk about myself, but I wanted to give credit when it's due because in 2018 the trajectory of my life changed. I just last weekend in Austin I spoke in a huge conference. I was one of the main speakers in front of 1,000 people because
Right.
of my success. And my success was because in 2018, August 22nd, 2018, when I met both of you, I realized the potential of storytelling and the impact of storytelling.
So 4 years later, you decided to start posting content and your life changed.
What's that?
I said 4 years later, 4 years ago, you decided to post content and your life changed.
For, well, 2018. That's
Yeah, so
the day I
four
started.
years ago.
Four
Yeah,
years ago,
so it's
yes.
4 years ago.
And my
Literally
life
August
changed.
28th, right? You said,
But
or August 25th?
but August 22nd, 2018, I went home
Years ago.
and I updated all my accounts. I was watching YouTube video, and consuming stuff until 4 a.m. My wife thought I'm cheating on her. She's like, "What are you doing on your phone? Let me see your phone." I'm like, "Stop it!" I was just in the zone. I became obsessed because
Of
the
course.
more I saw, the more I learned, the more potential I saw. I'm like, "Oh my god, this is how we communicate today."
Hmm.
And so,
Good.
sorry, didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
I love that. So as I was also posting content and making stuff, I started to put out quotes and sayings, and I was like, wait a minute, I would like to wear this on a hoodie. And so I tweeted out like, "Hey, anybody make hoodies?" And my buddy now, Abu Sayed from Wildhood in Canada, reached out to me and said, "Hey, I can do this for you," and he offered to do it for free. And so he made me a bunch of samples. I picked out what I liked, and then I started selling them. And so I sold like 200 or 300 here, then 400 or 500 of the next one, 400 or 500 of the following one, and then I realized, wait a minute, I don't know the first thing about fashion. I've only been slapping quotes on hoodies. And so then I got really inspired by Virgil Abloh who did all the off-white stuff with Nike, and started really diving into like fashion. And then I was like, wait a minute, I still don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, I gotta go to like school, I gotta learn. And so obviously, how I taught myself how to edit, I just went on YouTube and learned. And so I was like, I had just finished making the Beeple documentary, who's this artist who sold an NFT for $69 million last, I think, spring.
Mm-hmm.
And his thing was he had posted something every single day, made, designed, and posted something every day. And then he did that for 15 years straight, and that's what this $69 million piece of artwork went for. And obviously, because I work for Gary, where we put 150 to 200 pieces of content out a day, you're like, okay, I got to just put out something every single day and learn. So I started this account called Made By and just started designing something every single day. And I did that for about 6 months until I had a few pieces I was excited about. And then
Nice.
I just got my first batch back from the factories probably a week and a half ago.
Wow, that's
Um,
exciting.
yeah, I hate every single one, which means I gotta learn more. No, it's exactly it's part of the process. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
of
okay,
course.
cool. So like now I really gotta learn more,
Yeah.
and so I'm excited about it. I'm like, it's gonna be a project that like really takes off in about 10 years, and I'm
Right.
excited about that.
But it's all about, like Gary said, it's all about the process,
That's it.
you
I just want
know,
to have fun with it,
yeah,
honestly.
exactly. It's
I don't
like
want a
it,
business plan. I just want to like
yeah,
build a cool brand that like I'll look back at and be like, yo, I'm proud of that.
yeah.
And the
How
same thing is like I want it to be based off of good moral and good and positivity and just help support up and coming artists, up and coming, people that are like trying to grind. So
I know. And how old are you now?
I'm 31.
So, geez, I mean, man, that you have your whole life ahead of you. I just turned
I
40.
have that understanding. I'm blessed with that
Yes.
understanding.
Well, you have someone that keeps reminding you, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're all watching videos
Yeah.
every single day, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we all have it. Just go on the internet.
So tell the audience, you know, just for perspective, you're 31 now. You've
Yeah,
achieved so much that you have. You're living your dream job, but you're not stopping here. For you, this is not the end.
I
I
have
mean,
not even started.
you haven't even started. That's what I tell people when they tell me stuff like that. I'm like, this is just the beginning. Tell the story about the banana and the coffee.
You mean just like how much I'm putting out about content? Like, what do you
Well,
mean?
I saw you. I saw you actually today. I saw you in the
Yeah.
stories. You always do the coffee, but then I saw the banana, and I know the story that that's what you were eating for a while to save money. Tell us that
Oh,
story, just
that
because people need to know. People are so quick to judge. They see someone that's successful
winning.
and they're so winning, and they're so quick to judge, like, he just got lucky and this and that,
Yeah.
but they don't know that you went through shit. They
I
don't
mean,
know
listen,
that you.
listen. No one
Yes,
should know anything about anybody because no one's important enough to know
I
anything
agree.
about.
I agree.
Like even though it is my job to fully film and create content around Gary, I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know everything he went through, and I still don't know everything. And I always tell people that, like, even as you as a content creator, the greatest thing that you could ever know is nobody should give a fuck about you, which
Mhm.
should be liberating, which means then you can put out whatever you want
Good point.
and do whatever you want because nobody actually cares.
Good
If
point.
my job is film and document Gary's life, and I still don't know everything about Gary, then how the fuck does everybody supposed to know every detail or care about anybody? So there's that point, and I live by that. I truly like
Mm.
I could care like nobody should know my story at all, or nobody should know anybody's story because that's just not how humans are, right? But I will say this was graduated. I got an associate's degree in community college. Had a small scholarship for that, so I did that. Graduated. I wanted to go to film school. Couldn't afford it. We didn't have the money. I didn't want to take out loans. I'm very frugal when it comes to money, and so I was like, "Fuck it. I'm gonna just work and then try to find work." So I grew up in Pennsylvania. I was working at Amazon warehouses during the graveyard shift, so I can do like work at night, sleep in the parking lot of my college, go to college. And so I did that for like 4 days a week. And then eventually I graduated college and I get into a car accident. Completely total my car. And, my family had no money. And so my parents were like, we can't get another car. This is like impossible. I didn't have enough money saved up for another car. And so my parents were like, why don't you move in with your sister in Staten Island? I had a girlfriend in New York City at the time, my ex, and so her and I like I would drive in every weekend, yes, to see her. And so I was like, you know what? Let me live in Staten Island, and then I'll have more time with my girlfriend and try to find work out there in New York. Moved in with them, worked on Craigslist every single day, posted ads every single day, worked at Best Buy, didn't have any money, had no dollars in my name. And so when my brother-in-law would drive into the city for work, I would ride with them and like sit in their car and then be like, hey, just drop me on the corner somewhere. And I'm gonna
Wow.
go find a coffee shop. And I had $2, $3. And so I would buy coffee and a banana and I would eat that. That would be my meal for the day until I got back home with them where they would have dinner for me. But yeah, that was my life for
Do you, do,
probably
do
two,
you
3 years.
still today, when just for others to know, when you are in a position where you can afford to eat anything you want, do you look at it with that type of gratefulness, or is it just like a past where you're like,
Oh
I
yeah,
paid my dues? Like, how does that how
I
does that
am
affect you today?
Yeah, back to that. Sorry about like cutting you off, but like I'm so passionate about this.
Yes.
Back to your foundation and what you're working on, and us going to Pencils and Promise, in
Mm.
and like back to like every surgery when the light came on, I thought I was gonna die. Like I thought like that was the end of my life. Like literally just like off of like, okay, this could be it. Who knows? Something might go wrong and whatever. And so I wake up with that gratitude every single day. But then going to Pencils and Promise in Africa,
When was that? Like,
2017-ish.
so not too long ago.
No, but like just like it's another reminder. I was
Of
grateful for
course.
everything, but like I'm a humanitarian at heart, and so when I see a kid who literally has nothing, and they're smiling and laughing, and their water is the dirtiest garbage water, and the mom carried it for 6 miles across the heat desert, and I'm like, wait a minute, I have this, I have a tap that I can come home to water to. When I tell you why I love food so much is because of that. It is because of how grateful I am to be in a place where I can have food. And like I personally don't think I deserve it. I personally don't think that, like I can go back to eating banana and coffee every day. I really could. So
Mhm.
like right now I'm just enjoying the life because I think life should be lived and not wished for, you know?
Sure, of
And
course.
so I'm extremely grateful.
So is that how you keep yourself humble, or do how do you keep yourself humble, or is it just your nature? Um,
I think it's just my nature.
it's your
I've
nature.
tried to unwind it and I can't like figure out why it is. I also think that like back to the point of nobody actually cares. I
But
don't
people,
think
yep, they care. They don't
no,
really
they
care,
care.
but they
They
really
care,
care because caring, not as far as in a negative sense, caring in a positive sense. You
of
see what
course.
I'm saying? Because
No, I agree with that.
people are hungry to be inspired.
Of course.
I'm sure there is thousands of people that when they listen to this story, they just want to know more about the person Drock, because they're so inspired. They want to see what can they take so they can make the changes. They can obtain the courage to get to their wishes, to their hopes, and their dreams. You
Yeah, I get that.
like a role model.
I'm talking about the literal everyday struggle of every single human being.
Oh yeah,
Nobody actually cares about every little
yeah.
thing
Of
about
course,
it.
people don't have time.
Which is why I really believe in that, and that's where I think humility comes from. Because
Thank
you're grounded in like real life shit. Like I don't care about followers. I don't care about anything other than like it. What I love about social media is I can have the conversation I want to have
So
with the people I
why do
want to have
people, we're switching gears now. Why do people care so much about followers, likes? Is it
because
because
they're insecure and they need validation.
Hmm.
Think about this: a person that has 300 followers right now
Mhm.
on like in their life. I always say this. Think about you in a room, an empty big old room with 300 people in front of you. That's a lot of people.
It's a lot.
Now go have a conversation with every single one of them. That's a lot of different
Yeah,
conversations and a
yeah.
lot of different like thoughts and impact and like People are so vain and they think I need 50,000, I need 100, I need 1 million followers, but they don't even respect the 300 they already have.
I
To
know.
me, that's audacity at best.
Yeah. That's so true. I try to teach my kid that. My kids, they come say, "Oh my God, Dad." I'm like, look, it doesn't matter. It's not about the numbers. It's about your message. What you do with it is going to count. Not, no one cares about it. And
Yeah,
so,
and
but that's a,
honestly, there's a lot of people that have followers and they post content and they're not
mm,
even responding to people's comments,
yeah,
not even
and
engaging. And it's like the audacity that you have
a
to
hundred
build a
percent,
community and an audience
right?
and not even engage back is astounding.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Now there's
yeah,
a point where you get to Gary's level and you just physically can't. There's
yeah.
too much inbound.
So how do
But
you pick and choose who you respond to? By the way,
no,
thanks
you
for
don't you don't
responding to me, and
you
I
don't pick and
consider it
choose. Yeah, you don't pick and choose. It's moments in
just
time.
moments in
It's
time.
serendipity. It's back to like what we were talking about. It's just, you know what? I had a few hours. I knew in the next month or two that we can get
Mm-hmm.
this done, and I wanted to, and I'm in the mood to. There's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes where like a human being is not in the mood to do something, and like we gotta be respectful of that. So that's why.
So you're at the position now as executive director of creative that you're overseeing a lot of projects, overseeing a lot of young talent, and you have to do your own work. Um, as to just real quick recommendations for people that are interested in upping their game in the creative department. And one reasons why I like that question is because um, I consider myself a media company now because I do everything myself. So everything that you see, all the posts I record, I edit, even the podcast, I edit, I post. So I'm everything. I don't have anybody that helps me. So it's a learning process, a way of expressing yourself. But if you could give someone one recommendation, where would you tell them to start and how to structure? Because it's just so much, so faceted.
Yeah, there's a few things, on that. Just start with what you did, right? Start posting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know when you first started posting, you didn't really know what you wanted to post,
Yeah,
so you tried a whole bunch of different things.
yeah.
So a lot of people think, oh, I want to post videos all the time, but they don't like video as much and they're trying to force it. Maybe go write long form copy on Instagram or
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn or Facebook, or like maybe take those platforms and communicate how you want to. Draw something every day. Do a lot Instagram live every day. I think doing something every single day really builds A, your experience, and B, you're just like reps, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
cliche thing, but like putting in your reps really matters.
Yeah.
Um, and then experiment, right? You have a piece of content that probably did really well, maybe hopefully by
Mm-hmm.
this point, quite a
Mm-hmm.
few.
Yep.
You get kind of caught sometimes,
Which is
like,
the ones I don't expect to do well. It's just so random. It's
right,
weird.
but sometimes you're like, wait a minute, why did that work? And then you try to like,
Yeah.
then once you figured out that formula, you get like stuck in it, and you like,
Mm.
you like it, it's working, and that's what you should do as a contemporary creator. But then also, what makes Gary and us so dangerous is we're always experimenting on everything. So that too is like, hey, find the stuff that works and keep pounding it because it's working. But then also over here, I would say 60% of your energy on the stuff that works, 40% of your energy on just random stuff. An example, a literal example, I had a picture when I was like in a recording studio with Gary a long time ago, and I wrote this copy and I was like, this post is gonna fly, and it didn't perform at all. The next day, I was like, "What the hell?" Like
Maybe it was the timing. How do you know if it's the timing of the content?
I put
Like,
out this copy. I wrote this whole thing. Like the message was so good.
yeah,
It was a great post. Da,
yeah.
da, da, da. So I literally the next day I screenshot the post copy
Uh-huh.
and I put that as my post, and it explodes. And so like
What do you attribute that to, though?
experimentation.
No,
Not
but
being
it's
afraid. People would be like, "Why did you just posted that yesterday? Why would you ever put that in like the next day?" Well, because I wanted to, and I wanted to
but
try.
wasn't it the same post? It's just a screenshot of a
No,
post?
a screenshot of the copy. So like
Mm.
what I wrote in the copy, I thought mattered. Remember the night before, I was like, "Hey,
Yeah, I see what you
photo is
mean.
good," and then the copy I really wrote,
Uh,
and then I just screenshotted the copy and posted that. And again, like back to nobody cares. we're in a stream economy, right? You're just going by, and that's
Yeah.
all it is. You
Yeah.
gotta really try to stop people's attention. And so a screenshot of copy was different than what people were seeing, and it worked in that moment.
So it's just the same message, a different delivery method.
Right.
Interesting. Well, thanks for that insight. Now, what's your definition of success, and how close do you see yourself to that
I could die
today?
tomorrow. I could die today because, like I said, if I put out one video that would change somebody's life, I'm in a good spot. And so, honestly, impact and happiness are the two things that I define as success.
What's your definition of happiness?
Just whatever one deems happiness that is for themselves.
So, what is it for you?
Good family, great friends, a job where I'm making an impact, and staying healthy and enjoying life. Like COVID was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me,
Same,
and I will not take that for granted. It
same.
refocused my priorities. And honestly, like as a human, right now I'm really fired up about work again.
Mhm.
2 months ago, I wasn't. And so like every day you gotta always reprioritize. Every week you gotta reprioritize. Every month you gotta reprioritize, recalibrate what your happiness is. And if things are out of balance, you gotta spend time and effort to get them back up to where you want them to be.
Love it, man. Thank you so much. Thank you, Drock, for your time. It means a lot to me just because you and Gary really made a huge impact on my life, helping me to make impact on so many other people's lives. So I want to, from the
Appreciate
bottom of
that.
my heart, thank you.
I love your tone and tenor and how you hold
Thank you.
yourself and how you speak is incredible.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. It really means a lot to me just because before 2018, I didn't know what a podcast is. And I didn't know. I knew I had an app. It said
Yeah.
podcast. I didn't know the meaning of it. So this is me 4 years later talking to the man. So really grateful.
God
Thank
bless
you.
you, man. Have
Thank
a
you.
great night, okay?
I hope I'd see you in New York when I'm
We
up
will.
there.
We'll
So,
figure it out.
well,
Life is long, and it's so fun. Like a lot of these,
I would love to,
yeah, a lot of these relationships, man, are just
and I'd
this.
love
And
to.
then like you're like, hey, I'm in New York. I'm like, I have time. And then it's like we get drinks and we're homies.
I love to, and
All right,
give Gary my best. Tell
I
him I love
will.
him. Thank you.
I will. I will. God bless.
All right, guys, episode's over. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. If you want to get in touch with Drock, you can follow him on Instagram at Drock and on Twitter at David Rock NYC. Until next time, bye bye.